The clock read 7:43 a.m. when Ethan Blackwood locked eyes with his own reflection in the polished steel of his designer watch. He didn't like what he saw. The dark circles betrayed another sleepless night, a phantom haunting the penthouse suite of his life. He cinched the knot of his charcoal gray tie, a futile gesture, as though that small adjustment could fix not just his attire, but the persistent gnawing feeling that something was fundamentally wrong. It wasn't the tie. The rain fell relentlessly, a classic Chicago drizzle that turned the streets of the Loop into dark, slick mirrors. Drops streamed down the obsidian-black BMW's windshield, blurring the city lights into a confused, impressionistic haze, a scene that perfectly matched the state of his own thoughts. The windshield wipers moved in their usual metronomic rhythm, predictable, automatic, like his life. Merger meeting at 9, lunch with investors at noon, gym at 6, dinner alone at 8, sleep, or the attempt at it, at 11. It was the perfect hollow routine for a 38-year-old man who had more digits in his bank account than actual, tangible memories. The light turned red. Ethan braked, drumming his fingers on the leather-wrapped steering wheel. It was the third red light in less than 10 minutes. Traffic was a beast this morning. He picked up his phone, checking once more the email he had received late last night. The subject line was straightforward, just as he liked. Johnson & Mayer's merger. Final documents. The deal that had consumed 6 months of his life as a corporate lawyer would close today. He should feel a surge of accomplishment. It was his biggest case of the year. Yet, all he felt was a cavernous sensation in his chest. A movement outside the window snagged his attention. At first, he thought it was just the rain intensifying, until he made out a small figure approaching, a tiny silhouette swallowed by a faded yellow raincoat 3 sizes too big. A child. Instinctively, Ethan hit the lock button. The city was dangerous, and he had been taught from birth to be wary. The child approached the driver's side window, holding a grimy, damp cloth in her small, chapped hands. The hood of the coat slipped, revealing the face of a little girl. She couldn't have been more than 5 years old. "What the hell?" Ethan muttered, his eyes scanning the surrounding gridlock for a responsible adult. There was no one. The girl began wiping the windshield, her small efforts succeeding only in smearing the grime and making it dirtier. Her movements were small and clumsy, as if the task was new and overwhelming. Rainwater ran down her face, mingling with what Ethan realized, with a sudden lump in his throat, were tears. Something strange stirred inside him, a discomfort unlike the irritation of being late or the anxiety of a high-stakes case, and it certainly wasn't the usual indifference with which he navigated the city's myriad problems. This was something else, something he hadn't felt in so long he had almost forgotten its name: indignation. He rolled down the window a few inches, enough to speak, but not enough for the biting rain to get in. "Hey! Hey, little girl!" he called, surprised at the gentleness that had crept into his own voice. She stopped, startled like a small animal, expecting a blow. Her eyes, Ethan noticed, were a deep, soulful brown, far too big for her pale, thin face. "What are you doing here? Where are your parents?" The girl squeezed the wet cloth between her fingers, wringing it nervously. "I'm cleaning your car, sir," she answered, in such a low voice that he had to lean forward to hear. "To earn money." Ethan felt a chill that had nothing to do with the weather. "What's your name?" "Lily Mae." "Lily Mae, are you here alone? Where's your mom or dad?" Her gaze dropped to the wet asphalt. "My mom went to heaven. I live with my stepdad." The light turned green, and a yellow cab behind him laid on its horn. Ethan ignored it. Something about the way she said that, so matter-of-factly, kept him from simply handing her a $20 bill and driving on. "Did your stepdad tell you to do this? Stand in the rain, cleaning windshields?" She shook her head, sending droplets flying from her wet hair. "He just said I needed to bring money home." "If I don't—" She didn't finish the sentence, but her haunted look said it all. Ethan's stomach twisted into a tight knot. The honking intensified, but he remained still, a rock in the stream of traffic. "How old are you, Lily Mae?" 5 years old, alone in the rain, in the middle of downtown Chicago traffic on a weekday morning. 5 years old and worried about bringing money home. At that moment, Ethan knew he couldn't just drive away. What happened next was so out of character for him that later he would question if it had really been him making that decision. "Get in the car, Lily Mae. I'll take you home." Her eyes grew wide, a mixture of fear and distrust. "I'm not going to hurt you," he assured her, with a gentleness he hadn't used in years. "I just want to make sure you get home safely. And I need to talk to your stepdad." After a moment of hesitation, she walked around the front of the car and climbed in through the passenger door he had unlocked. The smell of damp clothing and quiet despair flooded the pristine interior of the luxury car. Ethan shrugged off his suit jacket and handed it to her. "Here, wrap yourself in this." As he maneuvered out of the angry traffic, Ethan tried to organize his thoughts. What was he doing, picking up a stranger's child? It ran contrary to every sensible, logical rule he lived by. But there was something in her eyes, something that reminded him of a loneliness he knew all too well, a loneliness from a long, long time ago. "Where do you live, Lily Mae?" "In the Bottoms," she answered, now a bit less tense, the warmth of the car seeping into her. "Number 43, apartment 2B." Ethan recognized the area, if not the specific address. It was in a forgotten corner of the city, miles from his usual route, a place known for high crime rates and grinding poverty. During the drive, Lily Mae remained silent, watching the raindrops race down the window, tracing their paths with a small finger. Occasionally she seemed lost in thought, a tiny soul carrying a universe of worry. "Lily Mae," Ethan broke the silence. "What happens if you don't bring money home?" She didn't reply right away. When she finally spoke, her voice was even softer. "Billy Ray gets angry. Sometimes he breaks things. Sometimes—" She hesitated. "Sometimes he won't let me eat." Ethan gripped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles turned white. Indignation now boiled inside him, morphing into a rare, white-hot anger he seldom allowed himself to feel. In 20 minutes, they arrived at a worn, 3-story brick building. The paint peeled off the walls like sunburned skin, and several light bulbs in the entryway were smashed. "It's here," Lily Mae pointed, suddenly apprehensive. "Let's go," said Ethan, parking in front of the building. Together they climbed stairs that smelled of stale beer, boiled cabbage, and cheap disinfectant. On the second floor, Lily Mae stopped in front of a door with peeling paint and the number 2B hanging by a single, rusty nail. "Is this where you live?" She nodded, biting her lower lip. "Do you have a key?" "No, I have to knock." Ethan knocked 3 times. Nothing. He knocked again, harder this time. After almost a minute, they heard shuffling steps and the sound of something heavy being knocked over. The door creaked open, revealing a man about 45, unshaven, with greasy hair and bloodshot eyes. He wore a stained T-shirt and shabby sweatpants. The smell of stale alcohol was so strong that Ethan instinctively took a step back. "Who the hell are you?" The man, Billy Ray, asked, ignoring Lily Mae entirely. "My name is Ethan Blackwood. I found Lily Mae cleaning windshields by herself on Wacker Drive. In the rain. Alone." Billy Ray looked at Lily Mae as if only now noticing her presence. "So, what did you bring?" he asked her, completely unconcerned about Ethan. The girl trembled, her fear palpable. "Nothing, Billy Ray. I'm sorry." The man stepped toward her menacingly. Ethan instinctively placed himself between them. "Can we talk?" Ethan asked, his voice controlled yet firm. Billy Ray spat on the floor. "What's this, social services? The cops? I've got nothing to say." "Neither. I'm just a citizen concerned about a 5-year-old child begging for money in the rain." "What I do with her is my problem," Billy Ray retorted, folding his arms. "She lives under my roof, eats my food. She's got to help out." Ethan took a deep breath, trying to rein in his mounting fury. "I understand times are hard, but there are other ways. Assistance programs." "Listen here, rich boy," Billy Ray interrupted, his alcoholic breath hitting Ethan like a wave. "I don't need a lecture from anyone, least of all some suit who knows nothing about my life. She has to help out. If she doesn't bring money, she doesn't eat. Simple as that." The words hit Ethan like a punch to the gut. The cynicism, the casual cruelty. He looked around and noticed for the first time the squalor of the apartment. Empty bottles scattered on the floor, leftover food rotting on the table, clothes tossed everywhere. There were no toys, no children's books, nothing to indicate that a child lived there except for a small, colorful drawing taped to the wall, as out of place as a flower in a desert. He saw Lily Mae shrink against the wall, clutching his jacket to her chest like a shield. And he saw the fear in her eyes, the kind of raw, naked fear no child should ever know. And he made a decision that would change both their lives forever. "This little girl isn't spending another night here." Billy Ray laughed, a harsh, humorless sound. "And who's going to stop me? You? She's my legal responsibility." Ethan took a step forward, surprising even himself with his resolve. "If you're truly responsible for her, prove it. Show me the custody documents. Show me she goes to school. Show me she's well taken care of." Billy Ray hesitated, and Ethan knew he'd struck a nerve. "Go to hell," Billy Ray muttered, staggering slightly. "Take her if you want. One less mouth to feed. She always comes back. Nowhere else to go." Ethan felt a wave of disgust so profound it was sickening, mixed with a sliver of pity for this broken man. This man didn't care about Lily Mae, not really. She was just a means to an end. He turned to the girl, who watched the entire scene with wide, unblinking eyes. He knelt down to her level. "Lily Mae, do you want to come with me? I can take you somewhere safe." She looked from Billy Ray to Ethan, a silent battle flickering in those big brown eyes. The fear of the known versus the fear of the unknown. "Will you send me back?" she asked, her voice so small it broke Ethan's heart. "No, I promise I won't." She nodded slowly, and Ethan took her small, cold hand. "You're coming with me now." Billy Ray lurched toward them, but he tripped over an empty bottle and almost fell. "This isn't over," he threatened, clinging to the doorframe. "I'll come after you, you son of a—" Ethan didn't wait to hear the rest. He guided Lily Mae into the hallway, down the stairs, and back to the car, his heart hammering against his ribs. What was he doing? Was this kidnapping or a rescue? His lawyer's mind began frantically listing all the laws he was likely breaking. But then he felt Lily Mae's small hand tighten around his, a fragile grip desperate for something solid to hold onto, and he knew he couldn't have done anything differently. Inside the car, the silence was heavy. The rain had eased to a light mist, but the skies remained a uniform, oppressive gray. Ethan glanced at Lily Mae, who looked even smaller in the wide, plush passenger seat. "Are you okay?" he asked, knowing it was a foolish question. She nodded, staring straight ahead. "Where are we going?" she finally asked, a simple question with a terrifyingly complicated answer. "To my home," Ethan said, realizing he was only now thinking of that detail. "For now." "I'll take care of you, Lily Mae. No one's sending you into the rain again. No one's going to tell you that you can only eat if you bring money home." As he drove, he tried not to think about the labyrinth of complications that would surely follow. What his partners at the firm would say, the legal ramifications, the seismic changes he would have to make to his life. He focused on the present, a 5-year-old girl saved from the rain and from hunger, an impulsive decision that defied everything he thought he knew about himself. Stopping at another red light, he glanced over and saw that Lily Mae had fallen asleep, her face relaxed for the first time since he had found her. The sheer vulnerability of that image hit him like a wave. What was happening to him? The man who lived by contracts, numbers, and rigid predictability now drove home with an unknown child asleep in his luxury car. The light turned green. Ethan accelerated gently so as not to wake Lily Mae. While driving, he realized he had completely forgotten about his meeting, the big merger, everything that had seemed so monumentally important just that morning. Now only one thing mattered, the small being asleep beside him, whose trust he had gained with a promise that he somehow knew would irrevocably change his life forever. The key turned in the lock with a soft electronic click. Ethan pushed the door open and turned on the lights, revealing a penthouse apartment that looked like it belonged in a high-end design magazine. Minimalist, organized, impeccably clean. Shades of gray, black, and chrome dominated the space. Nothing was out of place. "Come in," he told Lily Mae, who hovered at the entrance as if afraid her presence might contaminate the immaculate space. The girl's eyes roamed the open layout. From the door, one could see the living room with its low-slung leather sofas, the gourmet kitchen with a vast marble island, and through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city lights of Chicago beginning to glow at dusk. It was an entirely different universe from apartment 2B in the Bottoms. "You live here?" Lily Mae asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes," Ethan replied, noticing for the first time how cold and sterile the place seemed. "Come on in. Let's go." Lily Mae took a few hesitant steps, still clutching the borrowed suit jacket to her chest. Her muddy sneakers left small marks on the light hardwood floor, something that on any other day would have greatly bothered Ethan. Today, he barely noticed. "So you must be hungry," he said, heading to the kitchen. He opened the high-end, stainless steel fridge and stared at its nearly empty shelves. A few takeout containers, a bottle of wine, sparkling water, and not much else. "I don't have much here. I usually order in." Lily Mae didn't reply. She stood where she was, watching everything with a wary intensity. "How about a sandwich? I have bread and ham, or cheese, I think." The girl nodded slightly. Ethan had the odd feeling she would have agreed to anything he suggested. As he prepared the most basic sandwich possible, Ethan tried to organize his thoughts. What had he just done? He had taken a child from her home without any legal authority. Even if the conditions were awful, even if the stepdad was negligent, the law had a process, and he, as a lawyer, knew that better than anyone. But then he looked at Lily Mae, standing like a tiny statue in the middle of his sprawling living room, and he knew he couldn't have just left her in that environment. "Here," he said, putting the sandwich on a plate and adding a glass of milk beside it. "Come sit down." She approached, climbed onto one of the tall kitchen stools with some difficulty, and stared at the food as though it were an extraordinary treasure. "Thank you," she murmured, before taking her first bite. She ate slowly, chewing each mouthful carefully, as if wanting the food to last as long as possible. Ethan sat on the other side of the counter, trying not to stare too intently at her, yet unable to look away. There was something mesmerizing about how this small being occupied his space, like a dissonant note in a perfectly orchestrated symphony that somehow made the music more interesting. "Do you like cheese?" he asked, immediately feeling foolish for asking something so trivial. Lily Mae nodded, taking a sip of milk. A white mustache formed above her upper lip. "Billy Ray never buys cheese," she commented, surprising Ethan with the remark. "He says it's too expensive." The mention of the stepdad jolted Ethan back to the reality of the situation. What would the man do when he realized what had happened? Call the police? That was the most likely reaction. "Lily Mae," he began, choosing his words carefully. "Do you understand what happened today? Why I brought you here?" She paused and looked at him with those large, serious eyes. "Because Billy Ray is mean," she said simply. "And you're nice." The simplicity of her answer disarmed him. Nice. He had never considered himself particularly nice. Competent, yes. Successful, certainly. But nice? That was a quality he rarely thought about. "I just didn't want you staying there," he explained. "No child should live like that." "Am I going to live here now?" she asked, a note of hope in her voice that made Ethan's heart constrict. "For now," he replied, because he didn't know what else to say. He couldn't make promises he wasn't sure he could keep. Lily Mae went back to eating, apparently satisfied with the vague answer. Ethan realized she was used to not receiving guarantees in life. After the snack, the question of a bath arose. The master bathroom looked intimidating with its deep tub and rainfall shower, so Ethan took her to the guest bathroom. "Can you bathe on your own?" he asked, completely out of his comfort zone. "Yes," Lily Mae replied, but she hesitated, looking at her worn backpack that they had brought from the apartment. "I don't have clean clothes." Ethan hadn't thought of that. "You can wear one of my T-shirts for tonight. Tomorrow we'll buy you some clothes." While she bathed, with the door slightly ajar at Ethan's insistence, worried she might slip or drown, he made 3 phone calls. First, to his office, inventing a family emergency to justify his absence. Second, to a grocery delivery service, ordering basic groceries, including cereal, fruit, and other items he imagined a child would eat. Third, to Samantha Sam Miller, a sharp family law attorney he had worked with on a case years ago. Sam answered on the 3rd ring. "Ethan Blackwood," she said, sounding surprised. "To what do I owe the honor after so long?" "Sam, I need advice. Legal and discreet." A pause. "I'm listening. Hypothetically speaking, if someone rescued a child from a clearly abusive environment, what would be the legal implications?" Another, longer pause. "Ethan, what have you done?" He took a deep breath. "Tomorrow. Can we meet tomorrow? It's too complicated to explain over the phone. This sounds serious. My office, 9:00 in the morning. I'll be there." "Thanks, Sam." He hung up just in time to hear the shower water turn off. A few minutes later, Lily Mae emerged from the bathroom, wrapped in a towel far too large for her small frame, her wet hair plastered to her face. Ethan handed her a black T-shirt that practically swallowed her. Without the dirty clothes and with her skin clean, the bruises on her arms became visible, yellowish-purple marks in various stages of healing. Seeing them made Ethan clench his teeth. If he had any lingering doubts about his decision, they vanished in that instant. "Are you sleepy?" he asked, checking the time. Almost 9 p.m., late for a 5-year-old, he supposed. Lily Mae nodded, rubbing her eyes. The apartment had 2 bedrooms, the master and one he used as a home office. Neither was equipped for a child. "You can sleep in my room," he offered. "I'll sleep on the couch." She looked at the expansive leather sofa in the living room. "Can I sleep on the sofa?" she asked. "On the sofa? But the bed's more comfortable." Lily Mae looked uncomfortable. "It's too big. And dark." Ethan understood. A strange room, a strange bed. Everything was unfamiliar and possibly frightening. "Okay, the sofa it is." He fetched a pillow and soft blankets, improvising a small bed on the large modular couch. Lily Mae climbed up and settled in, looking tiny amidst all those blankets. "Want anything else? A glass of milk, maybe?" To his surprise, she nodded. "Warm milk." "Warm milk," he repeated, heading back to the kitchen. While heating the milk in the microwave, he realized he knew absolutely nothing about taking care of a child. Should he brush her teeth? Read her a story? Leave a light on? He returned with the warm milk in a large mug and found her gazing out the window, watching the city lights. When she noticed him, she quickly returned to the sofa. "Here you go." She took the mug with both hands, blowing on the surface before taking a small sip. "Thank you," she said softly. Ethan sat on the edge of the sofa, feeling strangely out of place in his own home. "Lily Mae," he began, unsure how to broach the subject. "Tomorrow I'm going to speak with a lawyer friend. She's going to help us. Are you going to send me back?" Lily Mae interrupted, her eyes suddenly alarmed. "No," Ethan assured her quickly. "I promised, remember? But we need to do things the right way so that nobody can take you back." She seemed to accept the explanation, though a shadow of worry lingered on her face. She kept sipping her milk in small gulps. "You know," Ethan said, trying to distract her, "I've never had anyone sleep on this sofa before. You're my first visitor in a very long time." "You don't have friends?" Lily Mae asked, the childlike frankness catching him off guard. Ethan gave a small smile. "I have co-workers." "Not really the same thing." "I didn't have friends at my school," she commented, looking at her milk. "The other kids said I smelled bad." The simplicity with which she stated this made Ethan's heart ache. "Which school did you go to?" "I was in kindergarten at Sunnybrook, but Billy Ray said it was too expensive, even though it was public. He didn't like getting up early to take me." Ethan made a mental note to look into that school tomorrow. If she wasn't currently enrolled anywhere, that could complicate things further. Lily Mae finished her milk and handed the mug back to Ethan, her eyes heavy with sleep. "Time for bed," he said, adjusting the blankets around her. Hesitating, he added, "If you need anything during the night, just call me. I'll be in the bedroom, first door on the right." She nodded, settling between the pillows. "Do you want me to leave a light on?" he asked, remembering his own childhood fear of the dark, something he hadn't recalled in decades. "Yes, please," she replied, her voice almost a whisper. Ethan left the lamp on the side table lit, adjusting it to its lowest level. The soft glow created a cozy circle around the sofa, like a small island of safety. "Good night, Lily Mae." "Good night, Ethan." He walked away, hesitated, then returned. For some reason he felt he should say or do something more, but what? He ended up just adjusting the blanket again and heading to his room, leaving the door open so he could hear her if she called. Once in bed, Ethan couldn't sleep. His mind raced, conjuring and discarding scenario after scenario, assessing risks, planning next steps. Beneath all that frenetic mental activity, one question persisted. What had changed in him? What had driven him to act so impulsively, so contrary to his analytical nature? The apartment's silence, once so familiar and comfortable, now felt different. It was a silence inhabited, filled by the breathing presence of another human being, a presence so small, yet so transformative. Some time later, when he was finally starting to drift off, he heard a faint sound. He rose immediately and went to the living room. Lily Mae was sitting on the sofa, knees pulled up, eyes wide in the dim light. "Are you okay?" he asked, approaching carefully so as not to startle her. She shook her head. "I had a bad dream." Ethan sat beside her, unsure what to do. After a moment of hesitation, he placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Want to talk about it?" Lily Mae looked at him, weighing whether she could trust him. "It was about my mom," she finally said. "I dreamed she was calling for me, but I couldn't find her." Compassion flooded Ethan. "You miss her a lot, don't you?" She nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "What was she like, your mom?" A small smile appeared on Lily Mae's face, as fragile as the first ray of sun after a storm. "She was beautiful. She used to sing to me before bed. She braided my hair." The use of the past tense did not go unnoticed by Ethan. He wanted to ask more, how her mother had died, how she ended up with that awful stepdad. But he didn't want to push. "She sounds wonderful," he said softly. "She's in heaven now," Lily Mae said, with the simple conviction of a child. "That's what the nurse told me, that she went to heaven and that she watches over me from there." "A nurse?" Ethan couldn't help asking. "From the hospital," Lily Mae explained, as if it were obvious. "Mom was in the hospital for a long time. She was always tired and thin, so thin you could see her bones." "Cancer," Ethan thought immediately, "or some other degenerative disease." "And after she went to heaven, you stayed with Billy Ray?" Lily Mae nodded. "He was Mom's boyfriend. But he doesn't like me much. He only stayed with me because Mom asked him to." "And when was that, Lily Mae? Do you remember?" She frowned, concentrating. "It was in the winter. There was snow, lots of snow." "A few months then," Ethan calculated. The last heavy snow had been in January. "Do you draw your mom sometimes to remember her?" Lily Mae's face lit up. "Yes, I draw her every day so I don't forget what she looks like." "Would you like to draw now?" Ethan suggested, thinking it might help calm her after the nightmare. "I have paper and some colored pens in my office." Lily Mae hesitated. "Can I, really?" "Of course." He fetched a pad of paper and some colored pens he used for marking documents, not proper art supplies, but they would do. Lily Mae sat on the coffee table and began to draw with intense concentration, tongue peeking out between her lips as she worked. After a few minutes, she turned the paper to show him. The drawing was simplistic, as one would expect from a 5-year-old, but it had a surprising emotional quality. A female figure with long hair and a big smile, wearing what appeared to be a floral dress. "That's my mom," Lily Mae explained. "Sarah." She liked flowers. She had a flower dress that was her favorite. "It's a lovely drawing," Ethan said, genuinely impressed. "You draw very well for your age." Lily Mae grinned, the first real smile he'd seen on her face. "Can I draw some more?" she asked, suddenly excited, the first time she had been so since he found her. "As many as you want." She leaned over the paper again, starting another drawing. This time it showed 2 figures, the same woman and a small girl holding hands. "That's me and Mom," she explained. "At the park. We used to go every Sunday before she got sick." "What did you do at the park?" "We fed the ducks. She pushed me on the swing. Sometimes she bought ice cream, but it was a secret because the doctor said she couldn't have sweets." As Lily Mae continued drawing and recounting small, sweet stories about her mother, Ethan realized he was witnessing something precious. Lily Mae was not only sharing her memories, but also forging a connection with him, a fragile bridge of trust. "Billy Ray doesn't like my drawings," she said, as she started a third one. "He says it's a waste of time and paper. Once he tore them all up." Anger flared again in Ethan's chest. "Well, I like your drawings. And here you can draw as much as you want." She looked at him, her eyes shining. "Promise?" "I promise." Lily Mae returned to her drawing, more relaxed now. This new one showed a house, not the depressing apartment where she lived with Billy Ray, but a little house with a chimney, a garden, and a smiling sun in the sky. "That was our house before," she explained. "When Mom got sick, we had to sell it and move to a smaller apartment. That's when Billy Ray moved in with us, to help pay the rent," Mom said. The pieces were falling into place. A single mother, gravely ill, with no resources. A boyfriend who offered to help, maybe initially with good intentions, maybe not. And when she died, he stayed with the daughter, likely just an informal arrangement, possibly not even legal. "Do you go to school now, Lily Mae?" Ethan asked, trying to understand her current situation better. She shook her head. "Billy Ray said it's too far and that I'll go next year." "But I liked school. Miss Miller gave me gold stars on my drawings." Another issue to address, Ethan thought. A 5-year-old should be in school. Lily Mae's eyes began to droop again, her pencil moving more slowly on the paper. "I think it's time to go back to bed," he suggested gently. She didn't protest, carefully putting the pens away before returning to the sofa. Ethan tucked her in again. "Can I keep my drawings?" she asked sleepily. "Of course. We'll leave them right here on the table so you can see them when you wake up." She smiled, her eyes already closing. "Thanks, Ethan." "You're welcome, Lily Mae." Ethan stayed there, watching as she fell asleep, her face, once tense and cautious, now relaxed, almost serene. The change was remarkable. He returned to his bedroom but left the door fully open this time. Lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, he thought about everything he had learned. An orphaned girl, left in the care of a man who clearly saw her as a burden, maybe even a source of income. A child with no school, no protection, no one to stand up for her. Until now. Ethan closed his eyes, aware that his life had changed irreversibly in the last 12 hours. The man who woke up that morning, lonely, focused only on his career, living an orderly and predictable existence, no longer existed. In his place stood a man with a little girl sleeping on his couch, a man who had made a promise he wasn't sure how to fulfill but was determined to keep. The last thing he thought before finally falling asleep was Lily Mae's drawing of the little house with the smiling sun. It wasn't just a memory of her past, he realized. It was also a hope for the future, a safe home. And somehow, however unlikely, he wanted to be part of that future. Samantha Sam Miller's office occupied the 10th floor of a sleek glass tower on Wacker Drive. Unlike the cold corporate style that dominated most law firms in the city, this office had a welcoming air. Real plants in the corners, colorful abstract paintings on the walls, and a genuinely smiling receptionist. Ethan held Lily Mae's hand while they waited in the lobby. The girl was especially quiet that morning, perhaps sensing his tension. She wore new clothes, just a simple outfit he had bought at the nearest department store as soon as it opened. Nothing fancy, just the basics, so she wouldn't have to wear the same clothes as the day before. "Mr. Blackwood," the receptionist called. "Ms. Miller will see you now." Ethan stood, adjusting his tie in a nervous gesture. "Come on, Lily Mae." Sam was standing when they walked into her office, a woman in her 40s with short brown hair, red-framed glasses, and a shrewd smile. Her gaze quickly assessed Ethan, then settled on Lily Mae with professional interest. "Ethan," she greeted, extending her hand. "It's been a while." Then she leaned down slightly, meeting Lily Mae's eye level. "And you must be Lily Mae. It's very nice to meet you." Lily Mae partially hid behind Ethan's leg, just giving a shy wave. "Please have a seat," Sam said, motioning to the chairs. "Ethan, I have to say, I'm curious. When you called yesterday, I pictured many scenarios, but none of them involved you showing up with a child." Ethan took a deep breath and began telling her everything, from the moment he saw Lily Mae cleaning windshields in the rain, to the confrontation with Billy Ray, and the impulsive decision to bring her along. Sam listened without interrupting, occasionally jotting down notes, her face maintaining a neutral, professional expression. "And last night she told me about her mother," he concluded. "Sarah. She died recently, apparently from a serious illness. Billy Ray was just the boyfriend, not the biological father. And from what I understand, Lily Mae isn't even in school right now." Sam nodded, setting her pen on the notepad. She looked at Lily Mae, who was flipping through a magazine on the coffee table. "Lily Mae, sweetheart, would you mind waiting outside with Denise, our receptionist? She has some children's books and maybe some colored pencils for you to draw with. I need to talk to Mr. Ethan about grown-up things." The girl looked at Ethan for approval. He nodded encouragingly. "It's okay. I'll be right here. And I can see you through the glass door." Lily Mae agreed silently and left the office. Sam waited until the door closed to speak again. "Ethan," she began, her tone serious, "I'll be direct. What you did was technically kidnapping." Ethan felt his stomach sink, though he had expected as much. "I know your intentions were good," she continued, "and from what you've described, the girl's situation was precarious, possibly abusive. But there are legal procedures for these cases. You should have contacted Child Protective Services." "And what would they have done?" Ethan asked, frustration creeping into his voice. "Placed her in a shelter? Or worse, sent her back to Billy Ray while they investigated?" "You know how the system works, Sam. It's slow and flawed." Sam sighed, removing her glasses and rubbing the bridge of her nose. "Yes, the system is imperfect, but now we're in a tricky spot. If that man, Billy Ray, decides to report Lily Mae's disappearance, you'll be the prime suspect. After all, you went to his house and left with the girl." Ethan felt a shiver run down his spine. He practically said he didn't care. One less mouth to feed? That may work in our favor, but it doesn't remove the legal issue. Sam put her glasses back on. "Ethan, I'm going to ask some tough questions. Are you prepared for what's ahead? Because it won't be easy." He nodded firmly. "If we file for temporary custody on your behalf, it'll be a battle. There will be investigations, social workers, hearings. Your life will be turned upside down. Your background, finances, home, everything will be scrutinized. I'm aware. Do you have any experience with children? Any nieces, godchildren?" Ethan hesitated. "No. I'm an only child, and my few close friends don't have kids." Sam studied him for a moment. "Why are you doing this, Ethan, really? We've known each other long enough to be honest." The question surprised him, not because he lacked an answer, but because he didn't know how to articulate it. I can't fully explain," he began, searching for the right words. When I saw her in the rain, so small and vulnerable, something changed in me. Then, seeing how she lived, how that man treated her, he shook his head, frustrated by his inability to convey his feelings. She doesn't deserve that, Sam. Nobody does, especially not a child. And if I can do something, I should. It's the right thing. Sam watched him in silence for a few seconds, as though gauging his sincerity. Well, she finally said, at least your motivation seems genuine, but you must understand that the authorities won't care about your feelings. They'll want to know if you can take care of a child. You do have financial stability. That's not an issue. But do you have time, willingness, patience? Kids need far more than money and good intentions, Ethan. I know. And I'm willing to learn, to adapt. I already have, in fact. Sam gave a small smile. I've noticed. I never imagined seeing you holding a child's hand, let alone buying children's clothes. Ethan glanced through the glass door. Lily Mae was in the reception area, drawing something with intense focus. What about immediate legal matters, he asked, turning back to Sam. What do we do next? First, she grabbed a new notepad. We gather all the information we can. The mother's full name, exact date of death, hospital where she was treated. We need to find out if there's any official documentation giving Billy Ray custody, or if it was just a verbal arrangement. And we need info on Billy Ray himself, full name, criminal record, if he has any legal right to the girl. Ethan nodded, mentally trying to recall what Lily Mae had mentioned. Second, Sam continued, we file for an emergency temporary custody petition, citing risk. That'll give you some legal standing while we investigate further. For that, we need to document the conditions she lived in and any signs of abuse or neglect. She has bruises, Ethan remembered. There are marks on her arms. We need a doctor to examine and officially document that. I know some who serve as experts in custody cases. I'll schedule an appointment today if possible. Sam made a few more notes. And we need Lily Mae evaluated by a child psychologist. That will help establish her emotional state and corroborate any accounts of mistreatment. The list of tasks was growing, and Ethan felt overwhelmed, but also relieved to have a concrete plan. It'll be costly, Sam warned, not just financially, but in time and emotional energy. Are you truly ready for this? Ethan looked at Lily Mae through the glass door again. She had finished a drawing and was proudly showing it to the receptionist, who smiled and praised her work. I am, he answered, with a certainty he didn't know he possessed until that moment. We'll do whatever it takes. Sam smiled. Warmer now? Great, because I'll need a fully committed client to win this battle. She stood, indicating the consultation was over. I'll start the legal procedures today. Meanwhile, keep things low-key. Keep Lily Mae at home. Don't take her to public places unnecessarily. We don't want to draw attention until we at least have temporary custody on record. Ethan nodded, feeling both anxious and determined. And Ethan, Sam added, before opening the door, you're doing something extraordinary. Many people would see a problem and keep walking. You decided to stop and make a difference. That says a lot about you. He didn't know how to respond, unaccustomed to such praise. Thank you for helping me, he finally said. That's what I'm here for, she replied. Now, let's go get your little artist. The ride back home was quiet. Lily Mae looked out the window, hugging a children's book Sam had given her. Ethan tried to process everything he and Sam had discussed, mentally organizing the steps ahead. Ethan, Lily Mae's small voice broke the silence. Yes? Where are we going now? There was something about the simplicity of the question that touched Ethan deeply. It wasn't just about their immediate destination. It was about her future, about what would happen to her. Home, he answered. My home. Our home, for now. Lily Mae nodded, apparently satisfied with the answer, then asked, What if Billy Ray comes to get me? Ethan tightened his grip on the wheel. He won't, Lily Mae. I won't let him. That's why we talked to Sam. She'll help us make sure you stay with me. For how long? The question caught Ethan off guard. For how long? He hadn't thought that far ahead. He was dealing with the immediate emergencies, the legal steps required to keep her safe. But what would happen next? "For as long as you want," he finally said, surprised by his own words. Lily Mae's eyes widened slightly. "I can choose?" Yes, Ethan realized he was becoming more committed to the situation than he had ever imagined. "You can choose." She was quiet for a moment, pondering before saying, "I want to stay with you. You're kind, and you have milk." Ethan couldn't help smiling. The direct, simple logic of a child, kindness and milk were enough to earn her trust. "Then it's decided," he said. "You stay with me, and I stay with you." Once they arrived at the apartment, Ethan realized he needed to make some adjustments. The home, designed for a childless bachelor, lacked anything a kid would find welcoming or fun. "Lily Mae," he called as he prepared a sandwich for lunch. "What do you think about going shopping later? We can buy some things for your spot on the couch and maybe some toys." Her face lit up. "Real toys?" "Real toys. What would you like?" She thought for a moment, as though it were a very complex question. "A doll, with hair you can brush." "And?" She hesitated, unsure if she could ask for more. Maybe some colored pencils. Lots of them, in all the colors. "That sounds great," Ethan agreed, setting a plate in front of her. "We'll buy all that and more. Whatever you want." While Lily Mae ate, Ethan watched her with a mix of admiration and concern. In less than 24 hours, she'd gone from a frightened child scrubbing windshields in the rain to someone who was starting, timidly, to express wants and preferences. It was a subtle but significant transformation, and he was changing too. The Ethan from 2 days ago could never have imagined buying dolls and colored pencils or fighting for custody of a child he barely knew. Never would he have considered turning his immaculate apartment into a child-friendly space. But here he was, already planning where to put a little desk for her to draw, what kind of bed to buy when the sofa no longer sufficed, which schools in the area might be best. "All done," Lily Mae announced, showing him her empty plate. "Great," said Ethan, returning to the present. "Let's get ready to go. We also need to stop by a doctor, as Sam suggested." Lily Mae frowned. "I don't like doctors. They hurt my mom." Ethan felt his heart clench. "This is a different kind of doctor," he said gently. "He just wants to make sure you're okay. It won't hurt, I promise." She didn't look entirely convinced, but nodded anyway. "And after that, we'll get your doll?" "And after that, we'll get your doll," he confirmed. Ethan realized he was smiling again, something he had done more in the last 24 hours than in the entire past few months. A genuine smile, not the professional, calculated grin he wore in business meetings. As he helped Lily Mae tie her new shoes, he felt a surge of emotion, both responsibility and affection. He was starting to care deeply about this little person who had entered his life so unexpectedly. And that scared him more than any legal battle he might face. The rain had returned to Chicago that morning. Billy Ray staggered down the grimy hallway of his building until he reached his apartment door. The day had been unproductive, odd jobs here and there, nothing you could call real work. He fumbled for his keys in the pockets of his worn jacket, dropping them twice before finally opening the door. The apartment seemed even emptier and messier without Lily Mae. Not that he missed the girl, she was just a problem, a constant reminder of Sarah and the promises he never intended to keep. But the kid had her uses. She did basic chores and, more importantly, brought in extra cash from cleaning windshields or begging in the streets. Billy Ray flopped onto his torn couch, cracking open a warm beer. 3 days had passed since that suited stranger took Lily Mae away. At first, Billy Ray felt relieved, one less mouth to feed. But now he was beginning to miss the extra cash. His gaze fell on some old magazines scattered on the floor. He flipped through them idly, more out of boredom than interest, until a photo caught his eye. It was a business magazine from a few months back that Sarah used to subscribe to. On the cover, a man in a dark suit with a stern expression stared directly at the camera. The headline read, "The 40 Most Influential Attorneys, Under 40, Ethan Blackwood revolutionizes mergers and acquisitions. Billy Ray choked on his beer. The man in the suit, the man who took Lily Mae, was him. No doubt. That face was unforgettable, rigid, determined, with eyes that seemed to see right through people. Ethan Blackwood. A lawyer. A rich one, apparently. A crooked smile appeared on Billy Ray's face. Maybe the situation wasn't so bad after all. Maybe there was an opportunity here. A wealthy attorney who, for some reason, decided to take a child who wasn't his. That didn't sound very legal. There might be money in it for him. Billy Ray grabbed his phone and did a quick search. Ethan Blackwood really was a big deal, a partner in a major law firm specializing in corporate law, a respected name in the city's legal community, worth millions. Billy Ray's grin widened. Finishing his beer in one gulp, he grabbed his coat. There was a police station a few blocks away. Time to pay a visit. The 12th District Police Station wasn't the friendliest place in the world, but it served its purpose. Billy Ray approached the front desk, forcing himself to appear more sober than he was. "I need to file a complaint," he told the officer on duty, a middle-aged woman with a bored expression. "What kind of complaint, sir?" Billy Ray cleared his throat, mentally rehearsing his story. "My stepdaughter was taken by a man without my permission. I want to report a kidnapping." The word kidnapping had the desired effect. The officer immediately became more alert and called over a detective who was standing nearby. Billy Ray was led into a small room where he began spinning his tale. He claimed he was Lily Mae's legal guardian since the death of her mother, said that 3 days ago a man named Ethan Blackwood showed up at his home and, taking advantage of a moment when Billy Ray had supposedly gone out to buy groceries, took the girl. "It took you 3 days to report your stepdaughter missing?" questioned the detective, a tall man with graying hair and a suspicious stare. Billy Ray was ready for that question. "I thought she'd gone to visit a friend from school. Only when I went to pick her up and found out she wasn't there did I start worrying. I asked neighbors, and one of them said he saw my girl leaving with a man in a suit. Only today did I manage to find out who he was." The detective took notes, still looking skeptical. "And how did you discover this man's identity?" "I saw his photo in a magazine, recognized him right away. It's Ethan Blackwood, a famous lawyer. What reason would he have to take your stepdaughter?" Billy Ray shrugged, attempting to appear both confused and outraged. "I don't know. Maybe he's one of those perverts, you know, the ones who look respectable but have dark secrets." The detective raised an eyebrow, clearly doubting such a serious accusation against a respected citizen. "Mr. Baker, that's a serious allegation. Do you have any proof?" "I have witnesses who saw him take my girl, and I have documents proving I'm her legal guardian." That was a lie. Billy Ray had never formalized his relationship with Lily Mae, but he hoped the police wouldn't check on that right away. After more questions, the detective left the room, leaving Billy Ray waiting. 15 minutes later, he returned with another officer. "Mr. Baker, we'll file your complaint and investigate. If what you're saying is true, we'll take the necessary steps to get your stepdaughter back." Billy Ray nodded, trying to appear like a concerned guardian. Inside, he was calculating how much he could squeeze out of that wealthy lawyer to keep quiet. Ethan's apartment now looked different. Small signs of Lily Mae's presence were everywhere, colorful drawings stuck to the fridge, a doll perched on the sofa, pencils and papers spread out on the coffee table. In just 4 days, the once impersonal space had come to life. Lily Mae was on the living room rug, drawing intensely with her new colored pencils, one of her favorite gifts since Ethan took her shopping. Her now clean, well-cared-for hair fell over her shoulders as she bent over her paper. Ethan watched her from the kitchen as he prepared dinner, something he never used to do, preferring takeout. Now, however, he found a strange satisfaction in cooking for Lily Mae, in seeing her try new flavors, in chatting about her day as they ate together. The phone rang, interrupting his thoughts. It was Sam. "Ethan, we have a problem," she said, without preamble, Billy Ray filed a police report against you." Ethan felt his blood go cold. "When?" "This afternoon. He's accusing you of kidnapping." "Damn," Ethan muttered, stepping away so Lily Mae wouldn't hear. "He didn't seem to care at all when we left." "Well, now he's playing the concerned guardian. The police are already looking into it. I heard it from a contact at the station." "So, now what?" "We'll have to speed things up. We already have the medical report documenting Lily Mae's bruises, and the psychologist has a preliminary assessment. I'm filing for the emergency custody order tonight. But be prepared, Ethan. It's likely you'll get a visit from the police in the next few hours." After hanging up, Ethan looked at Lily Mae, so absorbed in her drawing, so unaware of the legal storm gathering around her. The fear of losing her, of seeing her forced back into that toxic environment, was almost paralyzing. He didn't have much time to prepare. Less than an hour later, the doorbell rang. Ethan took a deep breath, trying to remain calm. Through the window, he saw 2 uniformed officers waiting. "Lily Mae," he called gently, "some police officers are here to talk to me. Don't be scared, okay? It's just a conversation." The girl immediately dropped her pencil, her eyes wide with fear. "They're taking me back to Billy Ray?" "No," Ethan promised, striving to sound more confident than he felt. "They just want to ask some questions. I'll be right here with you." He opened the door, keeping his expression serene despite his racing heart. "Mr. Ethan Blackwood?" asked the older officer. "Yes, that's me, Detective O'Malley and Officer Russo. We'd like to speak with you about a complaint we received." Ethan nodded, inviting them in. "I'm aware of the situation. Please come in." The officers stepped in, immediately noticing Lily Mae, who shrank against the sofa, clutching her doll. "Is that Ellie Baker?" asked the detective, discreetly pointing toward the girl. "Lily Mae Simmons," Ethan corrected. "Baker is the stepdad's last name, not hers." The detective made a note. "Mr. Blackwood, we have a report stating you removed the minor, Lily Mae, from her legal guardian, Roy Baker, without authorization." "I understand," Ethan replied calmly, "but there's more to the story than that. Billy Ray is not Lily Mae's legal guardian. He was simply her mother, Sarah's boyfriend. Sarah passed away recently. There's no official document giving him any rights over Lily Mae." The detective looked slightly surprised. "Mr. Baker claims he's the legal guardian." "He lied," Ethan said simply. "I can prove it. My attorney, Samantha Miller, is preparing the necessary paperwork. But more importantly, Lily Mae's well-being is at stake. I found her in the rain, alone, at 5 years old. When I took her home, I saw the condition she was living in. She has bruises all over her body. She doesn't go to school. She was forced to beg on the streets." As he spoke, Ethan noticed the younger officer's gaze kept drifting to Lily Mae, concern evident on his face. "We have a medical report documenting signs of neglect and possible abuse," Ethan continued, "and a preliminary report from a child psychologist. I'm acting to protect this child, not break the law." The detective sighed. "Still, Mr. Blackwood, the proper procedure would have been to call Child Protective Services, not take matters into your own hands." "I know, and that was my mistake, but it was a decision made in the moment, seeing a child in danger." The doorbell rang again. Ethan opened it, relieved to see Sam. "Detective O'Malley," she greeted, surprising Ethan with the familiarity. "I thought I might find you here. I'm Samantha Miller, Mr. Blackwood's attorney." She stepped inside, carrying a folder. "I have documentation here proving Billy Ray Baker has no legal right to Lily Mae, and I also have the medical and psychological reports indicating she was at risk." The detective reviewed the documents for several long minutes, the tension thick in the air. Lily Mae remained curled on the sofa, her eyes darting between the adults. Even with all this, the detective finally said, "We still have an irregular situation. You can't simply take a child, even with good intentions." "We're aware," Sam interjected. "That's why we've already filed for emergency temporary custody. We just need a few days until the hearing." Nevertheless, the detective insisted, "We'll need a formal statement from you, Mr. Blackwood. You'll have to come down to the station with us." Ethan nodded, resigned. He had expected this possibility. "What about Lily Mae?" he asked, worried. "A social worker is on the way. She'll speak with the girl and determine the best temporary course of action." At that moment, Lily Mae got up from the sofa and ran to Ethan, clinging to his leg. "I don't want to go," she said, tears beginning to form in her eyes. "Please don't let them take me back." Ethan knelt down, eye level with her. "No one's taking you back to Lily Mae, I promise. These officers are just doing their job, making sure you're safe." "But I am safe with you," she insisted, her voice breaking into sobs. The detective and officer exchanged looks, clearly moved by the scene. "Here's what we can do," the detective said, softening his tone. "For now, the girl can stay here with the attorney while Mr. Blackwood comes with us to give a statement. The social worker will assess the situation when she arrives." Ethan nodded, grateful for the small concession. He explained to Lily Mae that he had to leave for a few hours, but that Sam would stay, and he'd be back soon. "Promise?" Lily Mae asked between sobs. "I promise," Ethan said, giving her a brief hug before standing. While Ethan got ready to leave, Sam organized documents for the social worker, who was due to arrive. The atmosphere was tense but controlled. The doorbell rang a third time that evening. It was the social worker, a middle-aged woman with a stern but kind expression. "Ms. Davis," she introduced herself. "I'm here to evaluate the situation of the minor, Lily Mae Simmons." After a brief conversation with Sam, the social worker asked to speak with Lily Mae alone. Ethan hesitated, but Sam indicated cooperation was best. Before leaving with the officers, he said a final goodbye to Lily Mae, giving her a reassuring smile. "Everything will be fine," he whispered. At the station, Ethan answered questions with patience and honesty. He described in detail how he found Lily Mae, his visit to Billy Ray's apartment, and the impulsive decision to take her away. "I know I didn't follow the proper procedures," he admitted, "but at the time, all I could think about was her safety." The interview lasted nearly 2 hours. By the end, Ethan felt emotionally drained, yet determined. Exiting the interrogation room, he found Sam in the hallway. "How did it go?" she asked. "As well as it could, I think." "What about Lily Mae?" "The social worker just finished interviewing her." "Ethan, you won't believe what happened." Before Sam could elaborate, Ms. Davis approached them, accompanied by Lily Mae, who immediately ran to Ethan, wrapping her arms around his legs. "Mr. Blackwood," the social worker began, "I had a long talk with Lily Mae. She's a very bright, articulate girl for her age." Ethan nodded, placing a protective hand on Lily Mae's shoulder. Usually, in situations like this, the child would be placed in foster care temporarily while the custody issue is resolved, Ms. Davis continued. "However, given the circumstances and the clear bond between you two, I'm recommending that Lily Mae remain in your care until the hearing." Ethan could hardly believe his ears. "Thank you," he said sincerely. "What made you decide that?" The social worker smiled gently at Lily Mae. "Something she said during our conversation. When I asked what happened on the day you took her, she answered quite sincerely, 'I asked him to take me.' Then she explained how you treat her well, how she finally has real meals, how she's no longer scared. In all my years of service, I've rarely seen a child advocate for an adult so convincingly." Ethan looked at Lily Mae, both surprised and deeply moved. She smiled at him, a confident smile that contrasted sharply with the frightened child he'd found in the rain just 4 days prior. "So, what happens now?" he asked. "Now we prepare for the hearing," Sam responded. "With Ms. Davis's favorable report, our chances have just improved significantly." As they left the station, night had fully fallen. Lily Mae, exhausted by the emotionally charged day, fell asleep in the car almost immediately. "She really said that?" Ethan asked Sam as he drove. "I asked him to take me?" Sam smiled. "She did, and a lot more. She talked for almost an hour, telling them all about Billy Ray, how you rescued her, how safe she feels now." Ethan glanced in the rearview mirror at Lily Mae, asleep in the back seat, a feeling of protection and affection flooding his chest. The battle was far from over. Billy Ray wouldn't give up easily, especially now that he knew who Ethan was. There would be more interrogations, hearings, uncertainties. But in that moment, driving through the quiet city with Lily Mae, safe in the back seat, Ethan felt something he hadn't experienced in a long time. Hope. And for the first time, he allowed himself to imagine a future where he and Lily Mae would be a real family. Sam Miller's office looked like a command center. Documents piled high, sticky notes of various colors marking important pages, and 3 computers displaying different databases. Ethan and Sam had been working for 3 days straight, piecing together every scrap of information that could help their case. "Look at this," Sam said, sliding a folder toward Ethan. "I got the mother's medical records. Sarah Simmons died 6 months ago from advanced pancreatic cancer." Ethan opened the folder, scanning hospitalization dates, attempted treatments, the doctor's notes on her gradual decline. The final page contained something that made his stomach drop, a statement signed by Sarah, dated 2 weeks before her death, expressing her wish for Lily Mae to stay in Billy Ray Baker's care. "This complicates things," he muttered. Sam leaned over to read the document. Yes and no. It's a simple statement, not a legally recognized guardianship document, and it was made under extreme circumstances. She was in the hospital, likely on pain medication, with no legal counsel. But it still expresses her will. The will of a dying mother who believed Billy Ray would take good care of her daughter, Sam clarified. Legally, what matters now is that he didn't fulfill that responsibility. Ethan nodded, flipping through the pages to find more records. No father in the picture, no mention in any of the records. Lily Mae's birth certificate says, "Father unknown." That, at least, simplified one aspect. There was no other adult with parental rights to contest their petition for custody. "What about Billy Ray?" Ethan asked. "What do we have on him?" Sam grabbed another thicker folder. "This is what my investigator found. Billy Ray Baker, 46. History of unstable employment, mostly in construction. 3 drunk and disorderly arrests in the past 2 years. 1 assault charge that was dropped. Victim refused to press charges, probably out of fear. Nothing specifically involving children? No, but that doesn't weaken our position. His pattern of unstable behavior, alcoholism, inability to keep a job, all of it builds our argument that he's not fit to raise a child." Ethan thumbed through the documents. Police station mugshots, employment records that rarely lasted more than a few months, a portrait of a drifting man dragging everyone around him into his chaos. And Lily Mae's medical reports? Sam pushed a 3rd folder his way. Dr. Martinez was thorough. She documented every bruise, noted signs of mild malnutrition, and found that Lily Mae's vaccinations weren't updated in the last year. "All of that since her mother died," Ethan said, feeling that familiar anger rise. "Exactly. We have a clear before and after picture. When Sarah was alive, Lily Mae attended school, had regular medical checkups, was well nourished. In 6 months under Billy Ray's sole care, all of that deteriorated rapidly." Ethan closed the folder, unable to keep looking at the clinical photos of Lily Mae's injuries. "What about the psychological report? It's our strongest piece." Sam pulled out a neatly bound report from her drawer. Dr. Foster was very direct. Lily Mae shows signs of post-traumatic stress related to her mother's loss, compounded by subsequent neglect. She repeatedly mentions being afraid of Billy Ray, especially when he drinks. She was often left alone for long stretches of time, including overnight, and frequently went to bed hungry. Ethan felt the weight of those words, imagining Lily Mae alone in that situation, with no one to protect her, made his heart ache. Dr. Foster also noted, Sam continued, a marked improvement in Lily Mae's behavior and emotional state since she's been with you. She's more communicative, smiles more, shows fewer signs of anxiety. That strongly supports our case. What's our timeline? The preliminary hearing is in 3 days. If all goes well, we'll secure temporary custody for 6 months, enough time to build the case for permanent custody." Ethan nodded, running a hand through his hair in a gesture of exhaustion. He'd slept little these past days, balancing work with Sam and caring for Lily Mae. Oddly enough, he didn't miss his old, orderly, solitary routine. "Ethan," Sam said, shutting the folders, "it's going to work out. We have a strong case. Billy Ray has no resources for a good lawyer, and even if he did, the facts are against him. I hope you're right." "I am," she smiled confidently. "Now, go home. Lily Mae's probably waiting." He checked his watch, almost 7 in the evening. The babysitter Sam had recommended had been with Lily Mae since morning, another adjustment to his life he wouldn't have imagined making just weeks ago. "Thank you, Sam. For everything. Don't thank me yet. Thank me when we win." Returning home, Ethan found Lily Mae and Mrs. Garcia, the babysitter, painting at the kitchen table. The scene was so domestic, so different from the lonely order he used to come home to, that for a moment he just stood in the doorway, silently observing. "Mr. Blackwood," Mrs. Garcia greeted him when she noticed him. "Welcome back. We've had a productive day." Lily Mae lifted her head, a huge smile lighting up her face when she saw him. "Ethan, look what I made." She held up a colorful painting, 3 people holding hands under a blue sky. Ethan instantly recognized himself on the right in a typical suit, Lily Mae in the middle, wearing a pink dress, and on the left, a female figure with a golden halo over her head. "That's my mom," Lily Mae explained, pointing to the haloed figure. "She's watching us from heaven." Ethan felt a tightness in his chest. "It's a beautiful picture, Lily Mae." Mrs. Garcia smiled, starting to clean up the paints. "She has a natural talent for art. You should consider classes." "That's a good idea," Ethan agreed, placing the drawing on the fridge alongside several others Lily Mae had made over the past few days. "How was the rest of your day?" "Great. We had breakfast, went to the park, practiced reading, had lunch, did some simple math, then art. She's a wonderful student." Ethan paid Mrs. Garcia and walked her to the door. When he returned, Lily Mae was taking plates out of a low cabinet. "What are you doing?" "Getting ready for dinner," she answered seriously. "Mrs. Garcia said you'd be bringing food." Ethan grinned. "I did. I ordered Chinese. It should be here any minute. I love chow mein." "I know. That's why I ordered it." As they waited for the food, Ethan helped Lily Mae finish setting the table. It was a simple ritual they'd developed in the last few days, placing plates, silverware, napkins. Lily Mae insisted on helping, proud of contributing to the domestic routine. When the food arrived, they sat to eat, and Lily Mae excitedly recounted her day at the park, the ducks she saw, the letters she was learning. Ethan listened, asked questions, and laughed at her uniquely childlike, perceptive comments. At some point, while watching Lily Mae struggle to pick up a piece of chicken with chopsticks, a losing battle that eventually ended with her using a fork, Ethan realized something astonishing. He was happy. Genuinely happy, in a way he hadn't been in years, maybe decades. After dinner and their nightly reading session, something that had become part of their routine, Ethan put Lily Mae to bed. In the first days, she still slept on the couch, but it soon became clear she needed her own space. Ethan quickly converted the guest room, once a makeshift office, into Lily Mae's bedroom. The walls were still beige, but he'd promised they'd paint them together, in whatever color she chose. "Ethan," Lily Mae called as he was about to leave the room after a goodnight kiss. "Yes? Do I ever have to go back to Billy Ray?" The question caught him off guard, though he knew it was always on her mind. "No, Lily Mae. We're doing everything we can, so you'll never have to. Promise?" Ethan sat on the edge of her bed. "Remember when we first met? What did I promise you? That you wouldn't send me back." "Exactly, and I always keep my promises." She smiled, apparently reassured, and closed her eyes. Ethan stayed a few minutes longer, watching her drift off, amazed at how children can trust so openly, even after so many disappointments. Back in the living room, he poured himself a glass of wine and sat on the couch, case documents spread on the coffee table. He should review everything again to prepare for the hearing, but his thoughts were elsewhere. For the first time in many years, he thought about his own childhood. Distant parents, always busy with their careers, the constant feeling of being an inconvenience, a secondary project. There was never physical neglect. He always had the best money could buy. But the emotional void? Oh, that he knew well. That maybe was why he never formed a family, why he avoided deep relationships. He had convinced himself that he was better off alone, that solitude was a conscious choice, not a rooted fear. Now, suddenly, there was Lily Mae, a child who had burst into his orderly, solitary life, turning it upside down. And instead of resenting the disorder, he embraced it. The drawings on the fridge, the children's books on the coffee table, the small purple toothbrush next to his in the bathroom. All these signs of another human presence in his space now brought him comfort rather than anxiety. Was this what family meant? Not the solemn duty his parents seemed to feel, but this simple joy in someone else's company, this constant concern for another person's well-being, this desire to protect, to nurture, to just be there. Ethan picked up the drawing Lily Mae had made, now in his hands after he'd taken it down from the fridge. 3 figures holding hands. An improvised family, born of chance and courage, born of rain and despair, of 2 souls recognizing they needed each other. Tomorrow there would be more documents to review, more strategies to discuss with Sam, more preparation for the hearing. The legal battle was only beginning. Billy Ray might come up with new tactics, new arguments. The system could throw unexpected obstacles in their path. But that night, sitting alone in the quiet living room, hearing Lily Mae's soft breathing from the bedroom, Ethan felt a certainty that transcended all the legal questions. They were already a family. The papers, the documents, the court decisions, those would only formalize what was already in their hearts. For the first time, the word family no longer frightened him. On the contrary, it felt like the answer to a question he hadn't known he was asking his entire life. The Family Assistance Center was a modern building with pastel walls and furniture designed to be calming. Ethan held Lily Mae's hand while they waited in the lobby. Today was the official family assessment, a crucial step in the custody process. Sam had explained it was standard procedure. Lily Mae would be interviewed by a specialized psychologist, and Ethan would undergo an evaluation with social workers to determine his fitness as a guardian. "Are you nervous?" he asked, noticing Lily Mae swinging her legs anxiously from a chair too big for her. She nodded. "A little?" "What will they ask me?" "Just about how you feel, what it's been like living with me." "There's nothing to be afraid of. Just tell the truth." Lily Mae squeezed his hand a bit tighter. "What if they don't believe me?" "They will. Grown-ups can usually tell when kids are being honest." A door opened, and a middle-aged woman with a tablet appeared. "Lily Mae Simmons, I'm Dr. Foster. Would you come with me?" Lily Mae looked at Ethan, seeking reassurance. He smiled encouragingly. "It'll be quick," he promised. "I'll be right here when you're done." Reluctantly, Lily Mae let go of his hand and followed the psychologist into another room. Ethan checked his watch. Sam should arrive any minute with more documents they needed for the assessment. 15 minutes later, Sam walked into the waiting area, her cheeks flushed as if she'd been running. "Sorry I'm late," she said, sitting beside Ethan. "But I have important news." "Good or bad?" "Both. First, the good. I found Sarah Simmons's death certificate and, more importantly, her complete birth records for Lily Mae. Billy Ray Baker doesn't appear on any official document as the girl's guardian. There's no record of a marriage to Sarah, no paternity forms, no will naming him as guardian. Ethan felt a weight lift off his shoulders. That completely weakens his position. Exactly. Now the less good news. Billy Ray is here. What? How did he find out about this assessment? Family court hearings are public, Ethan, and custody proceedings are on record. Anyone, especially someone involved in the case, can get that information. The reception door opened as if on cue, and Billy Ray Baker walked in. He was initially unrecognizable. He had cut his hair, shaved, and wore a clean dress shirt, a far cry from the disheveled appearance he had when Ethan met him. "This isn't good," Sam muttered. "He's trying to look respectable." Ethan felt anger surging at the sight of the man who had mistreated Lily Mae now attempting to pose as a responsible citizen. Billy Ray noticed them and smiled, a calculated grin that didn't reach his eyes. "Mr. Blackwood," he greeted with false cordiality. "Ms. Miller." "What are you doing here, Billy Ray?" Ethan asked, trying to keep his voice low and controlled. "Same as you, I suppose." "I'm here for my girl." "She's not your girl," Ethan retorted, his fists clenching. "In the eyes of the law, maybe not officially," Billy Ray conceded, with a shrug. "But I was with Sarah for years. Lily Mae knows me as her stepdad. I have moral rights, if not legal ones." Sam intervened before Ethan could reply. "Mr. Baker, I suggest we avoid a confrontation. This won't help anyone's case." Billy Ray nodded, overly polite. "I only want what's best for Lily Mae." Before the conversation could continue, a social worker called Ethan for his evaluation. Sam gave him a look, indicating she'd handle Billy Ray while he was gone. The evaluation lasted almost an hour, with questions about his routine, his work, how he planned to balance his career with caring for a child. Ethan answered honestly, describing the changes he'd already made, the reliable babysitter, adjustments to his schedule, prioritizing Lily Mae's needs. When he returned to the waiting area, he found Sam alone, going through papers with a focused expression. "Where's Billy Ray?" he asked, looking around. "He got called for an evaluation, too," she said, without looking up. "Even though he has no formal legal rights, the court wants a complete picture of everyone involved." "And Lily Mae?" Still with the psychologist, those evaluations can be lengthy. Ethan sat down, bracing himself for more waiting. After a few minutes, Sam closed her folder. "Ethan, there's something you should know. Billy Ray approached me while you were being evaluated. What did he want? He offered a deal." Sam adjusted her glasses, clearly uncomfortable. "He said he'd drop any claim to Lily Mae." "For money." Ethan's stomach turned. "He's trying to sell her custody." "Essentially, yes. He suggested a financial compensation to help him start over." "That's disgusting," Ethan growled, contempt evident in his voice. "How much did he ask for?" $100,000. Ethan let out a humorless laugh. "At least now we know for certain he never cared about Lily Mae. He just wants to profit." "That can be used against him," Sam observed. "If he makes that offer again in front of official witnesses, it'll be almost a confession that he has no real interest in her well-being." The hallway doors opened, and Lily Mae emerged with Dr. Foster. Seeing Ethan, her face brightened, and she ran to him. "How was it?" he asked, kneeling to her level. "It was good." "I drew our house." Lily Mae smiled, then hesitated, as if recalling something important. "Can I tell you a secret?" "Sure." She leaned closer, whispering in his ear. "I told her I want to stay with you forever." Ethan felt a lump in his throat. "That's a great secret," he managed to say. Dr. Foster approached, smiling kindly. "Lily Mae did very well. You can wait here. We'll call everyone back for a joint discussion soon." She had barely finished speaking when the reception door opened again. Billy Ray came back from his evaluation, walking with the confidence of someone who thinks he made a good impression. Lily Mae saw him. Her entire body froze, her eyes going wide with terror. Then came a scream, high-pitched, visceral, loaded with pure fear. "He's going to take me. Don't let him take me." She clung to Ethan with such force that her small nails dug into his skin through his shirt. Her body shook violently, tears streaming down her face. "I don't want to go back. Please, please." Her reaction was so intense, so genuinely terrified, that everyone in the room stopped. The receptionist stood up, alarmed. Dr. Foster rushed over, and another social worker appeared in the hallway, drawn by the noise. Ethan wrapped his arms around Lily Mae protectively, whispering words of comfort. "Shh, it's okay. You're not going back. I promised, remember?" But Lily Mae was beyond rational consolation, trapped in a primal panic triggered by Billy Ray's mere presence. She kept screaming, clinging to Ethan like her life depended on it. Dr. Foster moved quickly, instructing Ethan to take Lily Mae to a private room at the end of the hallway, away from Billy Ray's sight. Sam followed, while another social worker blocked Billy Ray, who looked genuinely surprised by the intensity of Lily Mae's reaction. In the private room, it took nearly 20 minutes for Lily Mae to calm down enough to stop crying. Even then, she refused to let go of Ethan's hand. Dr. Foster watched closely, occasionally making notes on her tablet. "Lily Mae," she finally said, her voice calm and professional, "can you tell me why you were so scared when you saw Billy Ray?" Lily Mae looked at Ethan, who nodded encouragingly. "It's okay, you can tell her." He's mean," Lily Mae said softly. "When he drinks, he gets really mad. He breaks things. One time—" She hesitated, as though recalling something especially painful. "One time he pushed me so hard I fell and hurt myself. Here." She pointed to a small, nearly invisible scar on her forehead. Dr. Foster exchanged a meaningful look with the social worker who had joined them. This spontaneous reaction, this visceral fear, was more telling than hours of rehearsed statements could ever be. "Thank you for telling us, Lily Mae," said the doctor. "You were very brave." Sam, who had stepped out briefly to make some calls, returned with important news. "I just got a very interesting phone call," she announced, barely containing her excitement. "A woman named Martha Keller reached out to my office. She was a neighbor of Lily Mae and Sarah for years, until she recently moved away. She said she was always worried about the girl after her mother died, and when she heard about the case from someone who works at the court, she decided to come forward." "What did she say?" Ethan asked. "That she often heard Billy Ray shouting at Lily Mae. That more than once she found the girl locked out in the hallway when Billy Ray wouldn't let her in. That she took care of Lily Mae for days at a time when Billy Ray disappeared on drinking binges. And the best part, she has records. Photos she took discreetly, dates noted, even audio recordings of the shouting through the wall. It was as though the universe had aligned in their favor." Dr. Foster and the social worker exchanged glances again, and Ethan could sense the scales of justice tipping decisively on their side. The final meeting of the day took place in a conference room. On one side of the table sat Ethan, Sam, and Dr. Foster. On the other side were Billy Ray and a public defender assigned to him, clearly overwhelmed and unprepared. In the center sat the family court judge, the Honorable Judge Alvarez, reviewing the hastily updated reports from the day's events. "Well," she finally said, setting the papers aside, "I believe we have a fairly clear picture of the situation. Mr. Baker, you have no legal rights to Lily Mae Simmons. There are no documents establishing you as her guardian, nor any biological or adoptive relationship." Billy Ray tried to protest, but his lawyer silenced him with a glare. Additionally, the judge continued, there is substantial evidence of neglect and possible abuse. The child's terror upon seeing you today is especially concerning, as are the statements of Ms. Keller, which have been preliminarily verified. She turned to Ethan. Mr. Blackwood, though your initial actions were technically illegal, removing a child without proper authorization, the exceptional circumstances and your subsequent conduct indicate genuinely protective intentions. The reports from professionals show that Lily Mae is thriving under your care. The judge adjusted her glasses, adopting a more formal tone. Based on all the reports and evidence presented, I am granting temporary custody of Lily Mae Simmons to Mr. Ethan Blackwood, effective immediately, for a period of 6 months. During this time, Mr. Blackwood, you must comply with all follow-up visits from social services and complete a foster parent course. She looked straight at Billy Ray. Mr. Baker, you are prohibited from making any attempt to contact Ms. Simmons. Any violation will result in severe legal consequences. Additionally, I strongly advise you to seek help for your alcohol problem. Billy Ray stood abruptly, his face red with rage. This is ridiculous. She was my responsibility. "Sit down, Mr. Baker," the judge ordered, her voice firm. "Your conduct only confirms the concerns raised in these reports. Continue, and I'll have you escorted out." Reluctantly, Billy Ray sat back down, muttering curses under his breath. "A hearing to evaluate permanent custody will be scheduled for 6 months from now," the judge concluded. "Court is adjourned." Leaving the center while they waited for the car in the parking lot, Ethan knelt beside Lily Mae, who looked exhausted after the emotionally draining day. "You heard the judge, right? You're staying with me. No one's taking you back." Lily Mae nodded, still trembling slightly from the confrontation. Then, surprisingly, she threw her arms around Ethan's neck, hugging him tight. "Thank you for fighting for me," she whispered in his ear. No one ever did that before. Something broke inside Ethan, perhaps the last barrier, the final wall he'd built around his emotions. He felt tears burn his eyes, tears he hadn't shed since childhood. He didn't try to hold them back, letting them fall freely as he hugged the small person who, in so little time, had become the center of his world. "I'll always fight for you, Lily Mae," he promised, his voice shaking. "Always." Sam watched from a few steps away, discreetly wiping her own eyes. When she finally approached, her smile was warm and genuine. "Congratulations to you both," she said. "The battle isn't completely over, but we took a huge step today." Ethan stood, still holding Lily Mae's hand. He was momentarily speechless, overwhelmed by emotion. Finally, he found his words. "Thank you, Sam. I'm not just saving her life. She's saving mine." The sun was setting in the Chicago sky, painting the horizon with shades of orange and pink. A new phase was beginning for Lily Mae, for Ethan, for this improbable family formed by chance and sealed by choice. There would be more challenges ahead, no doubt, but in that moment, walking to the car hand in hand, nothing mattered more than being together. And for now, that was more than enough. The family court was especially crowded. Ethan adjusted his tie nervously as Lily Mae, seated beside him, swung her legs that didn't reach the floor. Her navy blue dress had been chosen especially for the occasion, and a silver star tiara adorned her carefully combed hair. 6 months had passed since the provisional custody was granted, months of social worker visits, foster parent courses that Ethan attended diligently, reports and evaluations. But they had also been months of bedtime stories, refrigerator drawings, and small daily triumphs that had completely transformed their lives. "Nervous?" Sam asked, sitting next to them. "Shouldn't I be?" Ethan answered. "All the reports are positive. Lily Mae's doing well in school, but still." "It's normal," Sam assured him. "This is probably the most important decision you've ever waited for." Lily Mae glanced up at him with surprising confidence for her newly turned 6 years. "Everything's going to work out, Ethan. The judge is going to say yes. I asked the stars last night. The bailiff announced Judge Alvarez's entrance, and everyone stood. After the formalities, the judge began reviewing the case. "We're here for the final hearing on the permanent custody of Lily Mae Simmons," she declared. "Over the last 6 months, we've closely monitored the temporary arrangement granted to Mr. Ethan Blackwood." She flipped through the documents before continuing. "I have all the reports here, and I must say it's rare to see evaluations so consistently positive." Ethan kept his attention on the judge as she cited findings. The social worker notes, and I quote, "The transformation in Lily Mae's well-being is remarkable. She shows confidence and a healthy bond with her guardian. Mr. Blackwood has completely reorganized his life to prioritize the child's needs." The judge looked up over her glasses. One thing stands out in all these reports: the word family. Not a family in the traditional sense, perhaps, but a unit formed by choice, commitment, and, most importantly, genuine love. She paused, looking directly at Lily Mae. "Lily Mae, do you want Mr. Blackwood to be your permanent guardian?" Lily Mae stood up immediately. "I want him to be my dad," she said clearly. "Not just my guardian." A murmur spread through the room. The judge smiled and turned to Ethan. "Mr. Blackwood, are you aware of the permanent responsibilities this custody entails?" Ethan rose to his feet. "I'm fully aware, Your Honor, and there's nothing I want more." The judge nodded, satisfied. "This court hereby grants permanent custody of Lily Mae Simmons to Mr. Ethan Blackwood, with all the legal rights and responsibilities therein." She banged the gavel, its echo reverberating in the courtroom. "I should add that Mr. Billy Ray Baker is permanently prohibited from any contact with the minor." Lily Mae looked up at Ethan, her eyes shining. "Is it over? Are you my permanent guardian now?" "Yes," he replied, his voice catching. "No one can separate us now." Without warning, Lily Mae jumped off her chair and into Ethan's arms. "We won!" she exclaimed, drawing smiles from everyone around. "Yes, we won," Ethan agreed, hugging her tightly, not caring about the tears escaping his eyes. The drive home was initially quiet, both of them absorbing this profound change in their lives. "Ethan," Lily Mae finally said, breaking the silence. "Yes? What should I call you now?" The question caught him off guard. "What do you mean?" "Well, you're not just Ethan anymore. You're my permanent guardian," she pronounced each syllable carefully. "You can call me whatever you feel comfortable with," he replied. "Ethan is still fine. Or, could I call you Dad someday?" she finished, looking out the window as though it were a casual question. Ethan felt a lump in his throat. "That would be the greatest honor of my life?" Lily Mae smiled. "Okay, I'll think about it." When they got home, they found a surprise. On the door was a colorful sign made by Mrs. Garcia. "Congratulations, Ethan and Lily Mae." Inside, there was a cake with the same words written in bright icing, a small gesture that made Lily Mae jump for joy. "Can we eat it now?" she asked, running to the kitchen. Ethan laughed. "It's a special day, so I think we can have dessert first." That night, Lily Mae fell asleep quickly, exhausted by the intense day. Ethan lingered in her room, just watching her sleep, overwhelmed by the idea that now, officially, she was his family. The next morning, Ethan woke to the sound of clanging pans in the kitchen. Alarmed, he rushed out of bed to see what was happening. He found Lily Mae standing on a stool, stirring a large mixing bowl, flour everywhere. "Lily Mae, what are you doing?" She turned, beaming, her face streaked with flour. "I'm making pancakes to celebrate, but I think I put in too much flour." Ethan surveyed the kitchen, now a white battleground, and instead of annoyance, he felt only amusement. "I think we need more milk to balance it out," he said, grabbing an apron. Together they fixed the batter and started cooking. Some pancakes fell on the floor, others turned out misshapen, but a few came out almost perfect. "Look, this one looks like a heart," Lily Mae exclaimed, pointing at a slightly deformed pancake. "You're right," Ethan agreed. "It's the best one." As they ate, generously drenched in maple syrup, Lily Mae looked at Ethan seriously. "Now that I'm yours forever, can I learn to read properly, like the big kids in my class?" "Of course you can," Ethan replied. "You're already making progress in school, right?" She scrunched her nose. "Yes, but I want to read real books, big books, without pictures." Ethan smiled. "We'll work on it together a little bit every day." After breakfast, as they cleaned the mess, Ethan had an idea. "How about we make a chore chart, with time for reading, for drawing?" Lily Mae's eyes lit up. "Can I decorate it?" "Of course. It's your chart." An hour later, they'd improvised a corkboard, with Lily Mae decorating each section with stars and hearts, while Ethan helped schedule a routine. "I think we need more books," he said when they finished. "How about a trip to the bookstore this afternoon?" She nodded enthusiastically. After lunch, they headed to the bookstore, Lily Mae holding his hand firmly the whole way. In the children's section, Ethan watched her carefully examine covers, flip through pages reverently. They left with a bag full of books for Lily Mae to practice, others for Ethan to read to her, and an illustrated dictionary she insisted was essential for someone who wants to learn everything. Back at the apartment, they curled up on the sofa to explore their treasures. Ethan suggested starting with The Giving Tree. "Read it with me," Lily Mae said, settling beside him. Ethan began reading slowly, pointing to each word. In some parts, Lily Mae kept up, recognizing words she already knew. In others, she listened intently, absorbing the sounds and meanings. As the story progressed, a tale of unconditional giving, Ethan realized he was just as captivated as Lily Mae, perhaps because in some way it mirrored his own journey of discovering that opening space in your life for another person brings a profound enrichment you never thought possible. When they finished, Lily Mae stayed still, resting her head on Ethan's shoulder. Then, almost in a whisper, she said, "You're my safe place." 4 simple words that hit Ethan with the force of a revelation. He closed his eyes for a moment, receiving the statement as a rare, everlasting gift, a gift that came with the responsibility of being for this small person what he himself had never had, a constant, reliable, safe presence. "And you're mine," he finally replied. The next morning, as they prepared breakfast together, now a cherished routine, Lily Mae helped set the table, while Ethan cut fruit. Suddenly, she stopped and looked at Ethan with a serious expression. "Ethan," she began, sitting at the table, "you saved me, you know. You're my real hero." He stopped what he was doing, moved by her sincerity. He sat across from her, taking her small hands in his. "Lily Mae," he said, his eyes brimming, "you saved me too." And it was true. Before her, his life had been a string of predictable, safe days, but also hollow. She had brought chaos, yes, toys scattered around, paint stains on the towels, but also laughter echoing through once silent walls, spontaneous hugs that stripped away every defense, a reason to come home that went beyond mere rest. Lily Mae smiled, apparently satisfied with that answer. With the effortless simplicity only children possess, she returned to setting out the silverware, humming softly to herself. Ethan watched her, committing that simple scene to memory. Yesterday's paper made it official what their hearts already knew. They were family now, not by blood or obligation, but by choice, by love. The morning sun shone through the windows, illuminating the apartment he could finally call home, a home built on kept promises, shared courage, and quiet new beginnings that, moment by moment, were turning 2 broken lives into a story of redemption, a story that was only just beginning. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. Leave a like because it helps this story get recommended to more people. See you in the next story.